Welcome to Off 63rd with Garrard McClendon. The elections aren't over yet. There will be runoffs in several wards because the challengers turned up the heat. In the 6th, 16th, and 20th wards, the incumbents couldn't get 50% of the vote plus one. Can the current aldermen explain why they didn't get a majority vote? This is Off 63rd, Chicago, from the beach to the burbs. Welcome to Off 63rd. Join us on the radio right now at 89.3 FM and on the web at www.wkkc.fm. We're fully interactive tonight, so give us a call at 773-487-3630. That's 773-487-3630. April 5th will be a day of history as aldermanic candidates try to sway voters into the polls. Tonight we have three incumbents from the 6th Ward appointed to the office in 1998. She holds the J.D. from John Marshall Law School, Aldermen Freddrenna Lyle, winning the 2007 election over prosecuted former Alderman Orinda Troutman, former Chicago Police Sergeant from the 20th Ward, Willie B. Cochran, and from the 16th Ward, winning her last election in a runoff, Alderman JoAnn Thompson. Welcome to Off 63rd, you three.
Well,
thanks so much for being here. Here's the deal. First, I want to start us off in a nice, quaint conversation here. We're going to have some fun. Then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the races that you're in. Let's go over the wards first. Let's look at the 6th Ward, Freddrenna Lyle. Your ward, roughly 66 to 99th. I want all of you to correct me if I'm wrong here. State Street to Cottage Grove, is that roughly the area?
Well, I go to 67th and Green, down Green to 72nd. So I have a portion of Inglewood, all of Park Manor, Chatham, Chesterfield, West Chesterfield, and Roseland Heights.
Okay. Let's go to the 20th Ward. Willie Cochran, 53rd to 69th, Stony Island to Sealy, roughly. Talk to me, Damon.
Well, we go up to 45th Street in the back of the yards, the Latino community in Sealy. And then on the east side, we go to Stony Island, go to 69th and the Dan Ryan, and then we are up to Garfield Boulevard, 55th. So we have a really long, diverse ward.
Yes, and I want to talk about these wards as well. And JoAnn Thompson, the 16th Ward, 49th to 65th, Halsted to Central Park. Correct me, talk to me.
That's about correct.
Okay. You know what's interesting about the wards, when you look at them on a map, why didn't someone just make them square or rectangular? I mean, these wards dip and dab and go all around the city. I think one of the wards, and I think is it the 20th that goes all the way to Reverend Byron Brazier's church? We're talking, what, Dorchester? That's a long way.
It is a long way, but I take in the communities of Woodlawn, Washington Park, Inglewood, New City, Park Manor. In back of the yards.
Let's talk about constituents before we get into some of the other questions. When you have a ward, Alderman JoAnn Thompson, that has a long stretch, has a long feel to it, how do you get to all of those constituents?
Well, it's not that hard. It's not that hard to get to all of them. My ward, I guess I've been doing this so long, it don't really feel that big. You know, it's a lot of people, but the only problem is it's not enough money to take care of all of their needs.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the problem.
Alderman Cochran, the same? It's not that difficult getting around the entire ward, or is there some difficulty there?
Well, I have to say that it poses some difficulty because it is such a wide and diverse community. I have a predominantly Latino community. About 70% of them are Spanish-speaking only. And then you have South Campus of the University of Chicago, which is also in my ward. So I go from people who are getting Nobel Peace Prize, and then on the other side of the ward, someone who has just landed into a community where they're trying to change their lives and everything in between, and all the issues that go along with it. So you have to be able to be diverse in your approach to those community members and you have to find different methods of reaching out to those members.
Si habla español.
See,
Yes, yes, sir. Freddrenna Lyle, hard to get to all the areas. I mean, you've got a pretty complex ward.
Yeah, it's not hard geographically. It's not hard to get to all of the areas. It's a little difficult to service all of the communities because you want people to be able to walk to your office. That's the ideal situation. Well, they can't walk to my office from 99th and King Drive or 67th and Green. So what we do is to take the ward office to the various communities. We meet every month at a different location, and we move around so that at some point during the year, each community will have a ward meeting in their location at least twice.
Yeah.
You just have to be creative, and it's one of the things that we always think about when they talk about reducing the number of aldermen to 25. If we represent 58,000 according to the new census, and if you reduce it, then you'll be representing 120,000, and they will never, ever, ever know who their alderman is at that point.
We're getting Facebook comments already, and I'm sure the phone calls are going to be coming in soon at 773-487-3630. Let's get right into this, you three, all right? Let's talk about, and I'm going to mention Rahm Emanuel later on in some of the endorsements, but let's talk about why you didn't get the 50% plus one voter in your ward. Freddrenna Lyle, you gotta help me here. Why didn't you get that 50% plus one?
There are a couple of reasons. Number one, you had a tremendously low turnout. Number two, each ward is different and there are different issues. I ran against three lawyers and a police officer, and I had 2 police officers murdered this past year. So I've had these huge crime issues that loomed over everything, as well as the number of people on the ballot. The smaller the turnout, the less there was for everybody to get a piece of. And so that had something to do with it.
Okay.
That's my estimation, but, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know.
Absolutely, and I want to talk about low voter turnout here a little bit later. It was horrible in the city of Chicago this past election. I thought there'd be more excitement with Daley leaving, but it just didn't happen. Willie B. Cochran, talk to me. Many people thought you were going to run away with this, Alderman Cochran. It didn't happen. You got less than 50%. Talk to me. Why?
Well, again, just like Alderman Lyle, we had several people in the race, 4 other people in the race who went out and they worked the ward. You add that to the snowfall that came and people having single issue voters who were disturbed about the snow that fell, and then people didn't turn out for the vote. To tell you the truth, Gerard, our polling showed us winning that election on that day by substantial numbers. But because 2,000 people didn't get to the polls, it made a big difference.
Okay.
So,
I'm gonna let you slide this time. Both of you kind of slid through this answer, so I'm coming back to you.
All right.
JoAnn Thompson, talk to me. Why didn't you get 55, 60, 70% of the vote on election day?
Well, I'm the same as my colleagues. I made number 9 in the race, and we had one on my west end, a Hispanic guy that was there. I mean, he had nothing to do all day long but knock on doors. And so every little bit takes away from the bottom line.
Okay, good. I'm glad you said that about knocking on doors, because I want to get right into the snow that hit, and it hit hard. 22, 24 inches. I woke up the next morning and couldn't get out of my house. And the low voter turnout. Now, we can't necessarily use those as excuses, though, and this is a wild card question. Anyone that wants to jump in, jump in. Are you always going to use low voter turnout and the weather as an excuse? Anyone want to?
Absolutely not. It was a combination of things. It was not only those things. It was the fact that if you have 6 people in the race and they've lived in the community, all 6 of them know somebody. So to begin with, there were too many people on the ballot for you to get 50%. Secondly, we had the combination of the snow, we had the combination of the issues, and my neighborhood is changing. And those people attribute the fact that it's changing for the worse to me. I get blamed for the crime, I get blamed for the fact that the schools. So a lot of that is, my life is miserable, I'm upside down in my house. These kids are out here walking around with their pants hung down and they're making all this crazy noise. Who do you blame? They don't know who their state representative is most of the time. They don't know who their state senators are. They don't see their congresspeople. The person that they see is you.
Is the alderman.
And so you're the one who wears the jacket for everything.
That's a good point.
Misplaced blame.